yeah, we'll be on the lookout for that. Like, we're gonna be on the lookout next week for Sony to finally announce Spartacus
Yep.
or whatever it's gonna be called. Which I'm gonna go on the record right now. I think it should be called PlayStation Spartacus. I think that's actually a pretty good name. Things are never besides like Octopath Project Octopath Traveler or Project
Yeah.
Triangle Strategy. Whenever you see project names, you know it's never going to be the name of the actual thing. I hope this is a departure from that. I hope it's PlayStation Spartacus. I think that's a great name, but it's not. It's going to be called something real generic and dumb. So.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe we should take bets here, but I think that the base version that is basically just PS Plus will be called PlayStation Plus. So it might be that the whole service is called PlayStation Plus, and then the first tier is, PlayStation Plus standard, and then from there it gets murky. Maybe it's like uh, PlayStation Insider or something is the top tier, and so that's why you get all the PS1 games and all that kind of shit. Um,
if they
yeah,
if they wanted to be real cheeky, which I would if I was in charge of Sony, I would. If they want to be real cheeky. I would keep the branding except add a new tier. So you have PlayStation Now, but then I'd have PlayStation Then. And PlayStation Then, it would have like all the games from like the past. But
That's
they're not
pretty
gonna
good.
do they're not gonna do
PlayStation
that.
then. That's pretty
PlayStation Then.
good. I like that.
Because the one thing that I find interesting is that they're still selling like the PlayStation Now, like
They are.
so it's like I
They
don't
are.
think you can just get rid of these services.
I
You
think they
know?
will. I think they will
Really?
convert. So I have not put my money where my mouth is yet, but I was seeing some rumors online about people buying PlayStation Now subscriptions and them being converted in the PS and or in the PlayStation 5 menu. They were being counted as PlayStation Plus subscriptions. Like they were just adding to the PlayStation Plus subscription. And then those people had access to PS Now, but then they had like an extra year of PS Plus or something like that. I think it's going to be that. So everybody who has PS Now subscriptions, everyone who has PS Now subscriptions through the next 3 years, that time is basically just going to be added to their PlayStation Plus subscription, and they're going to be grandfathered in to the
Mm.
PlayStation Now tier of the service. I think that's how it's going to work.
That would make a
Um,
lot of sense.
because otherwise, yeah, like I mean, we already saw the news reports about how they pulled the physical cards from the stores, but they have not stopped selling digital subscriptions to PlayStation Now on the PlayStation Store.
Right.
Um, this is where I'm saying about like putting my money where my mouth is. I also think that the PlayStation Now tier of this subscription service is going to be much more expensive than PlayStation Now is currently. So I think it's going to be more than PlayStation Now, or it might be equivalent to having both PlayStation Now and PS Plus.
So what do
Um,
you think, like $20 a month?
that would put it if it was the equivalent of both of those subscriptions, and you're paying at the yearly level, it would be $120 a year or $10 a month. Um, so I think it's going to be more than that. I think it's going to be like $15 a month out the gate.
And see, that's where I feel like it's gonna have problems
Yeah,
because $15 makes it $5 more than Game Pass.
yeah.
And
Well, but there's three tiers, right? So I think the lowest tier is probably going to be the same price as PlayStation Plus is currently.
mhm, fair enough. Do you think that this is going to have enough to compete with Game Pass? Because I'm reading the Bloomberg article and they don't seem to think so. Now, look, I don't as Jason Schreier's opinion, of
Yeah.
course, but how he's described it based on his sources. Literally, the last paragraph reads Sony will likely be at a disadvantage. The new service. Oh, well, way to put your opinion in there,
Put it
Jason. But
plainly.
right. The new service is not expected to feature its biggest titles on the day they come out. The
Yeah.
upcoming God of War Ragnarok, for example, is unlikely to be offered on the streaming platform right away, said one of the people familiar with the plan. And that is to me a problem with this thing because
Yeah.
while someone like me, who I would love to play to have an easy way to access Sly Cooper, I'd love that. Like if that, because I feel like that's what they're gonna go for. They're gonna really get into the well of their like content they've released the past 20 years. I think that's going to be the bread and butter of this thing. But Game Pass is offering brand new Xbox exclusives day one. And I don't know what Sony's going to offer to compete with that.
Yeah, I mean, they have to have good third-party support, probably better third-party support than they've had on PS Now. And PS Now's roster has been better than people have wanted to give it credit for.
It's gotten an unfair shake.
Yeah, yeah.
They have
It's
some good
it's
stuff.
pretty good. It does not have the day one releases that Xbox Game Pass has. But it's got plenty of great games and plenty of modern games in the rotating catalog. There often features really good marquee titles. Better. There is better stuff rotating in and out of PlayStation Now than is often on Game Pass. Even though Game Pass gets the day one releases, so like minus the day one releases, PlayStation Now's lineups, I would say, is better generally. But the day one releases tips the scale in a big way.
And
So it's
yeah, and I'll get to Alfredo's question in a second, but the one thing that I think that's underrated about Game Pass is the games that I don't expect to be on it that get on it and they're there day one. For
yeah,
example, one of my games of the year so far is Nobody Saves the World. I would have paid for that game. Like I would have bought that game outright for $30, but it just appeared on Game Pass for free. And it's like, oh yeah, like that's just great because it's just I was gonna pay for that anyways.
yeah,
If they can get a lot of games of that ilk,
yeah.
games that are, it doesn't have to be like the $60 experience. And even some of those, like you can get something like Outriders. You can get something like Back for Blood. I feel like this is gonna live or die by the day one third party games, as
Third party
Alfredo was
releases, yeah,
asking. I
yep,
think that if
definitely.
they can get those, and look, they're not gonna get everyone, because even Game Pass doesn't get everyone, but they need to get some timely ones.
Yeah, they have not traditionally had any day one releases on PS Now. The exceptions being the first one was GTA 3 for
Right.
the trilogy, the remastered trilogy that was available day and date. And then the second game that was available day and date was Shadow Warrior 3, which just came out. So that seems to me like a recent signaling of like, okay, this is the mode that we're moving into here. At the same time, PlayStation Plus has debuted quite a few games.
Yeah. Rocket
Rocket
League.
League being
Our
probably the
Duke.
biggest example.
Wish we had the Duke of Rocket League there. I'm pretty sure he probably got into Rocket League with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So it's not
I
like
did for sure.
me
Yeah,
too. It's not so it's not unprecedented like you're saying.
yep.
It's just
Fall Guys is another one that got
yeah.
huge off of of a PS Plus launch. Yeah,
Ooh, as an aside, what happened to Fall Guys?
it's still around, still kicking, and it's actually still doing numbers.
It is great. That's
I
good to
think
hear.
so.
I'm happy for him. I
Yeah,
haven't. I remember I played a lot of that game. I used to hear about it all the time, and then I just stopped hearing about it.
yeah, yeah,
So glad they're still doing numbers and everything. But yeah, Fall Guys is a big one. There's a whole bunch of games. But they've been very few and far between.
yeah.
And
Compared to the Game Pass, I mean, it really is Xbox. The biggest thing is Xbox leveraging its first party for these day and date releases, which PlayStation does not have a clear enough incentive to do that yet. I think
yeah,
the
and we
quality of their first party output um, suggests that they're undermining themselves by wrapping that up
yeah,
in the subscription service. I think.
I think that's fair. Because I mean, even if I look at what released last year for Game Pass, I thought Xbox had a great year last year, but they released a racing game, which I think is the greatest racing game of all time. But it's a racing game, and they released Halo Infinite, which I love Halo Infinite, but it's not a God of War Ragnarok. It's not a Horizon. It's just a different standard for a game like that. And so PlayStation has released these to me like best way I put it is like Oscar bait. They're like Oscar bait
Yeah, yeah,
games.
definitely, definitely.
And so they hung their hat on that. And I feel there is a fear from their standpoint that if you just release them, I don't even think it's a money aspect of it per se. I'm pretty sure that's a factor too, but it's more of a esteem standpoint. Like if we
Yeah,
release them
yeah,
for
that's interesting.
free, yeah, if we release them for free on this service, like I don't know, like, even when you think of like movies, like when a movie is streaming on Netflix, there's a different feel to it as opposed to if it was just came out straight in the movie theater.
Yeah, I think too. I often think of PlayStation's first party lineup as akin to like HBO series, that
Yeah,
kind of quality, where
it's funny.
it's
HBO,
just a cut above, just a cut above the competition,
very true. Even though
and
nowadays that's iffy with
it's a little
HBO.
different. I mean, HBO Max is a different beast than
Yeah,
HBO
and
has been.
yeah, and I think HBO Max is a good actually point with that because yeah, there are quality experiences, but I do see like that quality is different than it was.
Yep.
I'd say even like 5 years ago, where it was an HBO exclusive show. It has a different feel to it, than just something that comes out on Netflix. And so I think PlayStation is a little scared of that. I don't think
Yeah.
they should be per se because I mean, I don't think them just coming out like that's going to affect the quality of the games.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think one piece that is missing from the conversation here about these subscription services, in my mind, is they will not be dictated by the console for long. The subscription services will subsume and succeed the consoles in many
Mhm.
ways. And when we are not playing on consoles anymore, we will still be playing on these subscription services. I believe that. But for right now, the box matters. And while the box matters, both of these subscription services are gaining their base that will buoy them for decades to come, right? They're building up the subscription base that is going to that they're going to, rely on those monthly payments, right? That initial buildup is happening while the boxes matter. And PlayStation's box is a lot more popular than Xbox's is.
Tenfold.
So
Yeah.
so there's a question of like, yeah, okay, so Game Pass is a better value than PlayStation. But more people want the PlayStation. And if there is a roughly equivalent service on PlayStation and more people want the PlayStation, they'll go for the PlayStation and get the roughly equivalent service. Maybe they'll complain about it, but that's not like I think PlayStation might be looking at this and saying like as long as we are winning the popularity contest, we can have a slightly inferior service as long as we have a viable service, as long as it's viable. PlayStation Now isn't really viable currently, so I think they're right to rebrand, but I don't think they need to chase exactly what Microsoft is doing, and I would not be surprised if they see similar subscribership with a slightly less compelling product than Microsoft has because their ecosystem is more compelling.
That's a great point. I completely agree with that. I think Alfredo asked a question. Are we saying that we are expecting these subscription services to move to an Amazon Luna type service instead
Yeah,
of
like a
being on
cloud
console?
streaming.
I wouldn't say like let's say there's not going to be a PlayStation 6. I'm not saying that. I do think there's going to be a PlayStation 6.
Yeah, I
But
think so too.
I do think there's line to be that's the last PlayStation and that's when we're going to see that shift because I don't think we're remotely close to being able to just have it be a subscription service because I don't think there's any streaming stick or whatever. I don't know how we would even access the games. Like what device will be able to use at least right now that could do that. Besides a console that's easily accessible to like the majority of people. So I think we have to wait for technology to get there. But I do agree with you. That's the future. Like once you're able to just have a streaming stick or be an app on your TV, and then you cut it on, and you're able to play games at 4K 60. Yeah, I think that's the direction they want to go in. And I think that once they announce this is going to be a building block to that step. But I do think we're about a decade or more away from that being a reality.
Yeah, I think we are not quite a decade from it being good enough for most people. Think about like the majority of video game consumers that are playing on console. I don't know. I don't know if there's ever been a study of this, like, but what do you assume is the percentage of people that know that there is a game mode on their TV that lowers the input
Ooh,
latency?
that's a good question.
So
Oh,
if there's a ton of people that are
maybe 10%, maybe.
right, yeah. I think it's probably more. I think gamers tend to be a little bit more technologically savvy. Um, so I would say I would assume though that it's like sub 50%, probably high
I would
40%.
definitely agree.
Um, so if there are plenty of people that are playing games with input lag just because they're TV and they're perfectly okay with that, then there are going to be plenty of people who are okay with the latency of streaming very quickly. It's not that far off. You know, it's perfectly playable for some types of games right now. I've said that before. Anything turn based is totally viable.
Oh, I
Streamed.
agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
with turn-based games, I do a pretty good amount of PlayStation remote play when I'm out.
Yeah.
And one game I was playing on was Persona 5, and that works perfectly on my phone.
Yeah.
But as soon as you switch to something like Spider-Man or
Yeah.
it's a
It's rough.
no-go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's gonna be. Because I mean, I'm on a 5G connection. Like I have all the bars. I'm wired in on my PlayStation and it's still super laggy. So I'm very curious how long it would take to get it to a playable state for those type of games because those are the games that ultimately sell the console.
Yeah. I think in my experience, Stadia is most of the way there. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. It's good enough
Yeah, I
to
heard
to
Stadia
have
is really
for
good
a decent
for
game session. I think streaming from a local system is trickier. So like you're doing remote play, there are more barriers there. Streaming from a company's servers is better. Like my experience with PlayStation Now is tends to be better than my experience with remote play from my PS4. Um,
okay.
just
That makes
because
sense.
it's not I'm not uploading and downloading from my local network. You know, I'm
Mhm.
just downloading from my local network if I'm playing on PlayStation Now. Um, so yeah, I think it's closer than 10 years in terms of like broad playability. But yeah, some games are going to be worse than others for a while. So how long it's going to take for the box to lose meaning, I don't know. But even still, like so many people have PCs now that are capable of running these games. Um, if Game Pass is just as viable on PC as it is on Xbox, there's a different argument to be made there, right? In terms of devaluing the console.
Yeah. Also, I do want to bring the conversation to another question in regards to what we think this might be. Do we think we're going to get a PC announcement for this? I would think why not? Like
It's a good question.
I think that that would be a big thing
Yeah,
for
yeah.
this service.
Here's the question: is everything that is available? So we know, or at least from the original Bloomberg report, they said that the top tier subscription would include game streaming. And does that include every game available on the service? Right? Because right now, as far as PS Now is concerned, you can play every PS Now game streaming, and you can download every PS4 game
Mhm.
because the PS3 games can't be played natively on PS4s. Um, you can stream all of that on PC, so you can already use PS Now on PC. Um,
But it's
but
still not like console Game Pass. Oh, sorry, not console, PC Game Pass. Where on
no,
PC
because you
Game
can't
Pass,
download
you
PC games.
right.
You don't have any access to the PC version of those games. So you can play the PS3 version of Fallout 3, but you cannot play the PC version of Fallout 3 through PS
Mm,
Now, which is a
right. So
significant difference, especially for a game like that. Like, because the PS3 version of Fallout 3 is really bad.
30 frames, right? Like
Oh
just
no, it's
30.
not even. I mean, it's like 15 frames sometimes.
Oh
That
my
game
god, I must
chugs on PS3.
I must have like rose tinted glasses for that
Yeah.
game. I love that game, but God, like I haven't even tried to go back to playing it. So yeah,
Yeah.
playing that on PC at 30 less than 30 frames has to be a crazy experience because you own a PC to run that game at like 120, you know?
Yeah.
So I do you think that they're going to, because I mean, even like PC Game Pass doesn't have every Game Pass game. Like it's almost its own separate thing, and new games get announced for that, you know, are usually already available on console Game Pass, and it gets added in the future, I guess, because they have, I don't know why that happens, but I'm assuming it's a technical reason. Do you think that we'll get at least some game if they do announce like a PC component of this? Do you think that one, will it just be streaming, or do you think it'll be more than that?
I could it's difficult to say. I could make the argument that like maybe you have access to all of the PlayStation games that have been released on Steam, but that's
Hmm.
not that many right now.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I'm not exactly sure how that would work. See, like PlayStation, I think we talked about this before. PlayStation has a big uphill battle in terms of PC support. Microsoft has a PC ecosystem already.
Well, Microsoft is PC. I guess that's the big thing. Like,
Right. Well, I should say Xbox has a PC ecosystem in that
yeah,
you can buy Xbox games, or you can buy games from Xbox from an Xbox storefront on PC. There's no equivalent for PlayStation. So
mm,
there is no PlayStation licensing of PC games, right?
right. That'd
It's a
be
big
all.
it's a
It'd
big
be a new
difference.
thing. It'd be an
Yeah,
all new
it'd be a
thing, a
totally new
new
thing.
world.
Yep.
And Microsoft already had an advantage because I don't want to assume this, but I assume like 90% of PC gamers use Windows.
Yep.
So it's, they already kind of have like, it's a matter of calling a different department of your company to
Yeah.
get this thing
I
set
think
up.
it may also be a matter of a strategic partnership too, because PlayStation owns a minority stake in Epic Games, and Epic
Mm.
Games has their PC storefront.
Oh,
You
I
could
didn't
see a
realize that. You're
deal
right.
you could see a deal being struck there where PlayStation's PC the PlayStation Plus PC subscription includes an Epic Games subscription essentially.
That would be interesting.
And then it's, you
That
know,
would be
it's
very
PlayStation
interesting.
branded, and PlayStation brings all of their PlayStation 4 games that they ported to Steam. They bring them to the Epic Game Store, which I'm surprised they aren't already on the Epic Game Store, actually, come to think of it now. So maybe the two hands are not talking to each other that well.
Yeah, I guess my overall takeaway from this is I think this is going to be this is a big announcement for PlayStation. Like this
Yeah.
could theoretically be the biggest announcement they do all year. Because this
How
is go ahead.
what's your confidence level that this is gonna be that this is gonna be something that is predominantly positive in terms of, like, people the way people receive it? Because I don't see really much of a chance in hell
I'll
that most people are gonna be happy with what they rolled out here.
I'll broach another question to answer your question.
Okay.
When has anything been received like super positively like in the past like couple of years? I feel like every single thing is like met with like mixed reception. And so I assume that this is gonna be met with
Yeah.
mixed. I would say probably gonna lean more towards the negative.
But I think Game Pass was received pretty well because I mean, it is just like a pretty much a big win for consumers. So I
But I the thing is with Game Pass, because I remember when that was announced and everything, it was a different feel because Xbox
the
had been
skepticism.
through, or even besides that, like Xbox had been through just like so many disappointing releases.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I really think about the entire like Xbox One like lifespan, I can confidently say there were no classic games that were released on that system from an exclusive standpoint. Like, there's no game that's gonna stand the test of time. That's definitely like a top 100 game of all time. Like though, and obviously it's a matter of opinion, of course, but you're talking like Quantum Break. You're
Yeah.
talking Halo 5. You're talking, you know, these games that were kind of seen mixed. And so when they're saying, oh, we're bringing console exclusive games to this software, it's like, I remember people on Twitter saying, well, that's not much,
Mm,
you know? So it's like, I see, even like, like back then, Master Chief Collection was probably the
yeah.
best like exclusive. And that's just a collection of games. So Game Pass wasn't always seen as this like best deal in gaming. It was seen as Microsoft trying to stop hemorrhaging blood from the Xbox One generation. And they've come, and just the success of it is so, I feel like it's a case study, because it was kind of seen as like we're trying to get some positive spin on this horrible generation. That's turned into one of their biggest benefits. So PlayStation's kind of coming in a different playing field because they have kind of been receiving great, like as far as their exclusive go, like it's only been positive. I
Yeah.
think Days Gone is the only one that really came out and was a thud as far as like reception goes. Everything else has been received positively. Like people I feel like they only feel pressure to do this because Game Pass has become so successful. Like I feel like if they had it their way, they would just kind of continue what they were doing. But I feel like they feel obligated to do this.
Yeah, their hand is being forced. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and Alfredo says even Game Pass people didn't believe it was going to work. I assume he means like Xbox fans. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I wasn't an Xbox person back then, but I remember seeing that Game Pass. I was like, that's cool. Didn't make me want to buy an Xbox. It was
Yeah.
just like something cool. Then once it was broken down to me, the insane value of it, and they started adding all these games, and they're getting games that you would think they should have no business getting on there. And then and remember, this was before Bethesda was bought. This was
Right.
before Activision was bought. So it's like now you're getting all these Bethesda games day one. And so now, like, I feel like after all of that, Game Pass has kind of shown itself to be just this unbeatable player in the market. And so I don't think Sony's going to attack it from a standpoint of we need to get more subscribers than Game Pass. We need to really be a big competitor. I would hope that they don't brand this as a competitor to Game Pass, but it's something completely different. Because I feel like if you try to go straight up with Game Pass as far as like a feature standpoint, you're going to lose.
Yeah. It's hard to compete on that level.
So yeah,
They're gonna have to
I
get
think
creative.
super creative. Hopefully
Yeah.
we get some. Hopefully we get Sly Cooper. We need Sly Cooper day one. We need Ape Escape. I think Ape Escape's
We need
exclusive.
all PlayStation 1 through 4 games up-resed
Yes,
and playing
60
better on
frames,
PS5. Yeah.
4K. I need
The
Metal Gear.
dream that will
I
never
need
happen.
never happen, but I need Metal Gear Solid 1 playable on my PlayStation 5. Sony,
Yeah.
it makes no damn sense. It makes no sense. Like you can,
Yeah, they gotta kick down Konami's door for that one.
I don't even think it like is it. Do you think it's that? Do
It's
you think
part of
it's
it.
Konami?
Yeah, it's part of it, for sure. For sure.
But the other games can't you play the other ones on there?
You could play them through PS Now. But even now, I don't think that you can because of the licensing issue, and they never like renewed the license for the historical footage that was in those games. So you can't buy them on Steam right now, 2 and 3.
Oh, you're
I don't think
right.
you can buy them on Xbox right now either.
Glad I asked then, because yeah, that's an issue. So yeah,
Yeah.
get that straight. Like make that part of the announcement. You have
Come on,
all the
Konami.
metal. You have all the Metal Gear Solid games day one. I feel like if they attack it from that standpoint and they market all the past games that they have available, like I feel like because that's why I like stuff like Disney Plus, where it's like, oh, cool, the Proud Family. Oh,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah, yeah.
Moesha. It's like I
Right.
think that aspect is cool. Even I'll only go back to it like once or twice.
It's it's the novelty of it being there. It's there if you want it.
Right, because you're not going to get God of War Ragnarok day one. You're not going to you're not going to get her. Although I do think one thing they could do that Nintendo does, ironically, like Nintendo does this where they will release demos and time trials for their games randomly. Like
Yeah.
I was just playing Monster Hunter Rise on there for it was free for a weekend 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh, I would have never bought this game. Cool. I
Yeah.
think they could do that.
Did
If
the
they could
original
maybe
Bloomberg article say something about that? I kind of recall something like that.
I don't believe it did. I would think that would make sense. I feel like that's not hurting anybody. Like if you put like maybe like the first hour of a game in there. I think that's not like just a brand new game. Horizon comes out, you can play the first hour, or you could play like maybe a developer will set a place where the player can play. Like basically just make it so every game has a demo. I think that would be something that's cool that even Game Pass doesn't do and wouldn't be too out the realm. I feel like that's a good medium in between making the games all free day one and not doing anything at all. I still don't think they're gonna do it though.
I think there was some talk about like free trials essentially. If you in one of the higher tiers.
That would be great. Because I think EA Play did that. I think EA Play had EA Play because they do it with Xbox Game Pass now, where certain games come out and you get 10 hours of a free trial. And Alfredo said, yeah, there was. So that was talked about in some of the rumors. So I mean, I think that would be not a game changer, but I do think that would be something that's definitely a feature of it. That
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
that they need. Mhm.
the extra sales on games is a huge PS Plus feature for me, for sure. Getting extra money off of games, you know.
Extra money
So
off of exclusives too. Like
yeah,
I remember Ghostwire Tokyo, which I haven't played yet. But Ghostwire before it came out, like you could buy it for 53.99
yeah,
as
Deathloop
opposed.
too was another one that you
Yeah,
could do that
and
with.
I thought that's very. I mean, I assume that's going to
That's
be
appealing.
still the. Yeah, I assume they're not going to change that. But will that be even better depending on the tier you're at? Like I
Yeah,
feel
that
like
would be
they're.
awesome. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, I think that there are ways to because even Game Pass does that where if a game's leaving Game Pass, then you can buy it for a cheaper price,
That's cool.
which I've always thought was super cool. I think little things like that to make the value of it go up. Like I think
Right.
they're gonna have to be, like you said, they have to be real creative
Yeah.
because this thing is not competing with Game Pass just straight up. You're not gonna be able to get the same amount of games, same quality of games day one. But I do think them exploring, third party relationships, getting some third parties on board for releasing their games day one, it's going to be very expensive to do that. But, you got to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's something they look at from a sales standpoint. Hope they attack it from there. And then we need our Metal Gear Solid on there as well. So please, Sony. Any closing
It's
thoughts
must.
on Spartacus? Anything you're looking forward to with it?
Fingers crossed that this latest report from Bloomberg that they are revealing it next week is actually true, and that we don't get silence for a week.
I feel like that if it's not true, that would be very sad.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll, I'll be very. I feel like that would be super disappointing because they haven't announced when they would like make the announcement.
yeah. I think this is another kind of question. Do you think that this service is going to go live when they announce it? Because
No,
I think that they will make the changeover, the same time that
really,
they announce it. Yeah, I think it's going to be.
really.
Yeah, I think they'll do some sort of, you know, not a state of play, but something equivalent to that, where they're like, and starting tomorrow, after like 9 a.m., the
So they're
service will
gonna do
be
like
available
a
to
one more
all.
thing, like a one
Yeah,
more
yeah.
thing.
Well, no, it'll just be like, you know, not allowing people to stock up on PS Now cards right before,
Oh, okay, I
right
feel
before
you.
the thing turns over.
Well, I think they might set a cutoff date for you to be able to buy cards to
Maybe
do that. But because I feel like doing it so like it would have to be, they have to know they have something. Like I feel like if it gets met with negative reception and it's
it's
like,
too
yeah, we're
late.
making that change
No,
tomorrow.
I think it's too late. Regardless, I think they just have to go full
That's
steam
true. That's
ahead.
fair.
They got to do it, and then they got to adapt on the fly. There's no changing ahead of time.
So,
So I think they announce it and it goes live, and let the chips fall where they may. That's my guess.
Well, I'm telling you, it's gonna be PlayStation now and PlayStation then. we will,
Excellent.
we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, it's not something as corny as that, but hopefully they get a little creative with it.